All right, so welcome to another rapid fire business story of the week. This is part of our rapid fire series, and today we have an incredible guest with us, someone who's achieved extraordinary success and is here to share their unique business journey with you. We're excited to hear their insights, so let's welcome them to the show. All right, so as this is our rapid fire series, we've got 1 minute or less to answer each question. So in a minute or less, give us the elevator pitch to your story and your life. Go.
So my story is I actually started out as an author. A fiction author. I published and I completed my first novel when I was just 12 years old. Terrible novel. My mom told me don't delete it. I didn't believe her. She told me I'd regret it. I didn't in fact regret it. But that experience taught me to take a huge amount of information and quickly break it down into a coherent flow. So when I started meeting coaches, and I took all this experience in fiction writing, and I started to learn to use it for nonfiction writing. And I noted a lot of coaches, they were so educated that they forgot other people didn't know what they knew. They didn't know how to explain things in ways that people could understand, or how to take that mountain of information and share it in a way that was easy to follow and implement and comprehend and get results from. So I started working with coaches as kind of the universal translator to take that spaghetti pile of information in their head and turn it into an easy to follow sequence of instructions or of explanations of why their instructions were valuable, marketing materials, coaching programs, whatever they needed to share their wisdom with their clients in a way that the clients could actually understand and benefit from. So since then, I've often found coaches spend weeks on end trying to create their content when they're working by themselves, whereas with me, I got on a call with them, and in just 60 to 90 minutes, I ask them the right questions. I help them to figure out what they need to convey so people can use and understand their instructions. And in just those 60 to 90 minutes, they go from having a bare bones bullet list to having a fully designed coaching program content.
So that's fascinating, and I would love to dig a little bit deeper. So tell us a bit more about what you're working on today that you're most passionate about and believe will have the biggest impact.
What I'm working on is taking the feedback that I've gotten and just the experiences I've had from my clients and refining my offers. A moment ago, I was talking about how I can get on that call and do the done with you program creation. I used to do one-on-one coaching primarily, teaching people how to create a program. I've also done some pre-recorded programs. I also putting together a self-paced one. But yeah, it's very important for coaches when you're working with your clients to pay attention to what gets the best results the fastest. What do people seem to enjoy the most? What do you find yourself defaulting to just because it works the best? And that's, I almost fell into this DFY model almost accidentally because it was supposed to be like a coaching call or a prep for a done for you. And instead I just kind of ended up doing it on the call while I was taking my notes. So, if you find yourself changing your offer or, tailoring it to people or just doing it in a different way than you expected that works better than what you'd planned, just roll with it. Pay attention to what your clients need and are enjoying. That's what I'm doing right now, is paying attention to what my clients need and are enjoying, and changing my marketing and actually much of my websites to focus on that.
So this next question is one that every entrepreneur has dealt with. Tell us about a time where you failed. We often say failure is the first step to success. So think about a time where you failed in the past. What happened? What did you learn from it?
I'd say there have been a few of them. I've had launches that didn't go well, that didn't get any conversions, and that I had to pay attention to, okay, why is my marketing not landing? Why is my messaging not landing? Sometimes I was targeting the wrong people. I was targeting people who didn't really have enough money to have a hope of paying me, so they were just trying to get the freebies and then move on. In one case, one big setback I had was a client that I'd been working with for a while decided to switch to in-house writing instead of working with me, so I really had to look at my business and go, oh shoot, I've been overly dependent on one client and been too much into one client without keeping my pipeline full and having other clients coming in. So that was another lesson I had to learn, was to make sure I kept my pipeline full of potential clients so I wasn't too dependent on just one or a few. Those are a few of the lessons I've learned from failures in the past. Another time, Zoom decided to basically disappear its entire interface while I was in mid-presentation. And one lesson I learned from that was, even if things go wrong, it's still going to be okay. People are going to, as long as you're honest about what's going on and just focus on delivering value, people will laugh it off. I finally found Zoom had moved the entire interface to my second monitor, and that's why, which was off, so that's why the interface disappeared. And we all just had a little celebration when I figured it out. So, don't get too uptight about things being perfect is another lesson I learned from that.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. And we're definitely going to have you back on the show to dive deeper into each of these questions. But for now, one thing that I often say is, and I tell this to my employees and the people who work with me and for me all the time, is that when a tree falls in the forest, if nobody hears it, did that tree actually fall? This brings me to this next question. How do you make sure that all of these amazing projects that you're involved in get noticed? What marketing and advertising methods have worked best for you? You've got a minute. Let's go.
The main one I focus on is networking. I get onto networking calls, but one common mistake I've learned to avoid making is trying to sell what I'm doing on that call, because people aren't there to be sold to. They're there to sell their stuff, to get more eyeballs on their stuff. So instead of going into these networking events focusing on selling my stuff, I focus on looking for collaborations. Who's doing the step before me in my client's journey? For example, people helping coaches get into business in the first place and set up their infrastructure, but not really helping them to create their programs like I do. Or who's the step after me? For example, people who specialize deeply in a specific type of marketing, like podcasting or speaking on stages or advertising. People who can help them to sell the program once I've helped them create it. So I look out for people like that who are a step before me or a step after. Sometimes they might be a step concurrent with mine, though that might require the client to do more multitasking at the same time, so I don't focus as much on them. So once I've noted these people on the call who might be a good fit for me, another mistake I avoid making is assuming that they'll follow up with me. So many people just don't bother to follow up after networking calls, and they're kind of wasting their time in that case. But I don't like to waste my time, so I note who might be a good fit, and I follow up with them, and I personalize it. I say, hey, insert their name here. We met on so-and-so networking call, and here's why I'm reaching out. Would you like to book a call? Having those specifics in there, especially on Facebook where it can be so spammy, so many people have so many unsolicited pitches in their DMs, having those specifics like their name and why you're reaching out and how you met can set you apart from the masses of spammers that are probably clogging their inbox and annoying them. Then, I started with getting to know them, seeing how we can collaborate. For the love of goodness, do not go straight into the pitch. Do not go straight into inviting them to your events. Do not go straight into trying to get them into your group. Then they just feel like you're using them to pad your numbers. Start to get to know them as a human being and see what they need before you offer it, so that they can see that your offer is because they need it instead of just because you're throwing spaghetti at the wall. So that's the main way I've been seeking referral partners and potential clients.
That was so awesome. We're definitely going to dive deeper into this on a later show. And as we approach our last question, before we ask people how people can get a hold of you, how people can reach you, learn more about the work that you're doing in your company, and we will include all that information in the show notes, what I wanted to ask you is, what is one piece of advice that you would offer to your younger self, to our audience, and to somebody, especially somebody who's just starting out in the same niche that you're in, but just doesn't know how to start or get going? Amazing stuff. We're going to have to thank our guest.
I'd say focus on the main things, the fundamentals, getting to know your clients, seeing what they need, paying attention to what they need and what you enjoy doing so much that you'll actually do it on a consistent basis. Don't get all hung up on the minutia of the logo or the fanciness of your website, all this stuff. Don't get hung up on the stuff that doesn't actually relate to serving clients. It's good to have, you can add it when you need to, but don't delay really launching your business until you have it. Just focus on what do you love doing, and it's another mistake I'd avoid in the outset. Don't let anyone pressure you into doing a marketing method that you really hate doing, because you'll hate it, you won't find it sustainable, you'll struggle to make yourself do it. And the output will probably be of an inferior quality compared to what you'd be doing if you actually enjoyed what you were doing. So if you love speaking, focus on speaking. If you love writing, find a way to use writing content to attract people. find some sort of marketing method that you enjoy enough that you'll actually do it sustainably, and give it a fair shake, like at least 90 days. Don't just poke at it for a week or two and then assume it's not working. So yeah, find what you love, do it sustainably on an ongoing basis, but be prepared to experiment and don't consider yourself married to a strategy just because you tried it. Give it a fair shake, but be prepared to modify or abandon a strategy if it's just not serving you.
Today for being a guest on Business Story of the Week. And before we cut out on this episode, I wanted to ask you, how can people get a hold of you? How can people learn more about what you're doing? And how do people engage with you? And we will transcribe this and put it in the show notes for everybody to find.
So on my website, there's a contact page. It's coachclientconnection.com. That's coachclientconnection.com. There's a contact page on there. You can use it to email me, to schedule a time on my Calendly, and I've got a list of my social media, so if you like to connect over social media, you can pick your poison and do the one that's the most comfortable for you.
All right, amazing. So you did it. Thank you for being a guest on the show today. Let me tell you what you can expect next. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all this, we're going to cut it into an episode. It will go on the Business Story of the Week page. So make sure you go on Apple Podcasts, review us, like us, go on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to us on Spotify. And this will come out in the next 30 days or so, depending on our workload and how many shows we have. We have had a lot of interest in the show lately, so we may be a little backed up, but the show will get out. In the meanwhile, we will send you clips that feel free to share on social. Also, the full episode, feel free to share any way that you like. The content is yours to share and put out there. We just ask that you mark us and tag us in the notes if you do. So in the copy, put hashtag Business Story of the Week. Link back to us. We would appreciate that. And if you think that you might be interested in doing more podcasts, live ones and studio ones, Zoom ones, Riverside ones, there's a whole host of shows that likely if you did this one and succeeded, you would probably be really great at, and a great way of getting your message out. So your host will talk to you about potentially getting you booked on a strategy call for a Business Story of the Week's sister company, Podcast Cola, or becoming a YouTube influencer through Viral Mirage. Thanks again for being a part of this. Looking forward to working with you.